I really truly believe that someday my kids are going to complain about me, and the one thing that I can say to them, and I can always say, is I did the best that I could with what I had.
We're just going to talk about how to make it better when we do have damage, because all three of us have gone through it in our house.
So I think leading into the damaging part, like with discipline and with punishment, the intent is one thing we can look at, because discipline, the intent is to teach, and it is supposed to be long term. Punishment is short term, and it's just like it's reactive to whatever you just done. That's punishment. Discipline, of course, is long term. We want this to last a lifetime. We don't want this to just be a lesson or something that's learned within the moment. And it helps with like how we develop as individuals. I'm teaching. Punishment, I'm making you suffer for doing wrong, which leads to the shame, which leads to punishment is actually damaging, because now I'm living in shame. I'm living in fear, because if I say something too loud, I may get yelled at. I may have to put my knees on rice, or I may get a tomato thrown at me, or I may get a whipping and get fussed at the same time.
Right.
You know, those different things matter.
Wait, how did you get disciplined, Taisha?
Oh, you only had to raise your voice about that much, and I'm out the way. Or threaten me with, you finna get a whooping. Oh, it's over with. It's over with. I ain't got time. I did not like that, because I was scared. I was like, I don't want to disappoint anybody. So I didn't do that whole whipping thing. But I remember I was in the 3rd grade, and I had a little attitude. I was 8, but I was 16. I real snappy, like neck rolls and all. That teacher called my mama and told my mama I was giving them attitude. My mama came up to the school in the classroom, and she said something, and I put my little hand on my hip and did one of them. Baby, I was picking myself up off the floor. She knocked me over the trash can in the classroom. Young people, listen. I bet that was the last time. That was the last neck roll and smack and hand hip motion all together. Cause in the classroom, y'all, I kid you not like by the door or outside of the door. My peers saw me get knocked over the trash can. The teacher didn't call defects. They didn't call. They ain't call nobody. That was just like,
okay.
And I was like, I'm sorry.
Well,
and so, yeah, like, so that was like, can't do it. But the last thing, right before you, Michelle, like with discipline, like what impact are we really trying to leave when it comes to correcting child's behavior? Are we trying to make sure they have positive skills? Are we trying to make sure they have boundaries as they grow up? And understanding that punishment literally only focuses on stopping that one behavior through negative means at that time. Which one do we really want? Do we want a long-term fix or short-term fix? A lot of times as mamas, and I guess daddies too, we wanted to stop like right now. Like, just stop. But then it happened again, and it's like, dang, now I got to whoop you again? And it don't click to us like, dang, if I had taught them when it happened the first time, maybe it won't be something that I have to keep punishing you. So that's where the discipline, I feel the discipline is better. I was still learning too, y'all.
I was just like you, Taisha. I tried to stay out of trouble, but I always got in trouble.
Me.
I was an A student. I was a ballerina. I did everything the quote unquote right way. But my freaking closet, it was a disaster all the time. And it drove my mom nuts. And so And that's how I ended up with a cut in my face. It was like, in my eye. It
Oh.
was, like she came, it was night, and my closet was a disaster, and she started hurting me. Like, she took her shoe off and started hitting me. And so anyway, the kind of thing that now these days with Rio, her room used to be a disaster. And so now she's actually very organized because we organized her room. We took out a bunch of stuff and she has more room to actually, have a room. Like she can actually walk into the room now. But I come in and I help her. It's not like, get your shit, like it's not like that anymore. And so for me, things have definitely changed from what I was to now. And I was a good girl, but I always still had that. Now I look at my brothers, mostly my youngest brother, who I have no doubt in my mind was on the spectrum, is on the spectrum.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And my mom had no idea. Because, what do you
Wow.
know? That, he had hyperactivity and attention disorder. And so they would put him on medication, but then the medication wouldn't work. And I remember him having to go and get EEGs and get all these things. And I think that my mom tried, but I don't think that they knew what was happening. And that kid got smacked a ton. Like it was constantly.
Oh, wow.
That's why I think it was hard for him. And I think that it still is hard to think of my mom because that's
Mm.
how my mom treated him. Because he couldn't finish what he started. He couldn't do things because he just didn't like I look at how he was and the way that it was for him. And oh my gosh, there's no doubt. That's how he was when he was younger. And so, but he got the really bad part of my parents. And now he has a son who is also a complex kid. He's on the spectrum. And he was like, you know what? I will take this on now at 40 years old so I can help my son understand that it's okay, which is what I did
What
not
is he
have.
doing, Michelle? If you don't mind being more specific about your brother and your nephew that you've noticed.
Honestly, I don't know much because he's in Brazil,
Okay.
right? So we, of course, have conversations to this day. His son is very it's not that he's antisocial, but he doesn't open up. He won't, you know, yes.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about how do you handle this when they are younger, right? And for him, it was like, okay, I'm going to let him have his space because he didn't. Yes.
Mhm.
And so
Perfect.
my nephew make these little videos about Mario Kart and he posts it on YouTube. He's the same age as Drake. They do things differently, but I think it also comes with my brother not being able to even really take care of himself. Like he tells us all the time, we've had our light turned off because I forgot to pay. But those are things that's just how he is. It's just his thing. It took him a long time to find himself. My parents paid for his school. He never finished college. He needed one more semester and he dropped out because he just couldn't do it. Then he started all these different businesses and now he found himself like he's always loved music. So he started with his wife, who was amazing. She actually has a master's in music for piano and they sell
Nice.
pianos. For a while, they were like not a band like a band, but my brother's voice is so beautiful that she would play the piano and he would sing at
That's so
churches for weddings.
nice.
Yeah, that's
So
nice.
Love that.
he finally found himself. But what he went through at school, going to a Baptist school in Brazil. We got punished there, not hit, but he got in so much trouble all the time. You look back and how could we do this differently? When I was telling the story about my dad and the stupid things we did when we were younger, I really saw that you realize things you do incorrectly once you're older. Most people do. And I think that with my brother now, he's like, I'm trying to do this different because of how it was with me and how it is now.
Yeah. And I
So,
think the way for us to do it different is one, to be aware. True self-awareness and awareness of what happened to us. It didn't kill us because
mhm,
we're still here. So we have an opportunity to make a difference. We have an opportunity to make a change. And in order to do that, we have to first acknowledge that there was something wrong, right? And once we acknowledge that, we begin to seek ways to do things different. And there's so much literature, so much education. For those who don't want to read, you have people like us, you have podcasts available,
That's
you
right.
have
mhm,
videos
mhm,
available that will help you on that journey of changing some things. If you don't have a kid and you're looking to one day start a family, begin to educate yourself on childhood development, on what it looks like, what it feels like. And not only that, begin to heal yourself, because a lot of our stuff, like, we can laugh about it because we know our parents did the best they could with what they had. But at some point, we really had to deal with that, right? And we all may have dealt with it differently. Some of us deal with it after we have kids and we feel like, dang, I've ruined my child because I did what my parents did to me. Now we are holding our parents accountable, but we really can't
mhm.
because they did
Right.
all they could.
Yeah.
So as
Yep.
parents now, we just have to unlearn and relearn some things to be better for the next generation. And with each generation, it gets better. But who decides it's time for a change? Who decides, you know what? I'm not going to beat my kids. I'm going to do something different. I know there's something else. Or I'm not going to beat my kid for the small things. I may whoop them for the really big things, because that'll be equivalent to you go rob a store, you going to jail. So, finding that balance that works for said household, because every household is different, every child is different. So every child discipline is going to look different. The thing that going to make it all look the same is love. Because the love we have
Mhm,
for ourselves and the love we have for our kids shows up in that
Or the
discipline.
lack of.
Yes, absolutely. So that's why we got to
I
heal.
As you were saying that, for some reason in my mind, it just came, you know what? Our kids are going to complain about us just the
Just
way
like,
that we complained
yes.
about our parents. So, you know what? We can do
Yep.
whatever the hell we want. Somehow they're going to figure out a way to complain about
I
us
do agree
as
with that,
when they
Michelle.
get older.
Yeah, and you're right, 100%. I'm going through it right now, actually. She's 26. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really? Do you even know what I went through compared to what
Yeah.
you went through? I'm already saying that.
Exactly. You're right.
But
Yeah.
she said something that did speak to me, though. She said, "My experience is my experience, Mom.
Yep. That's so true.
And yours is yours.
Mhm.
In my world, this was bad. And this was horrible. And this was traumatic. Just
Yep.
because you had it worse than me, it
It doesn't mean
doesn't
I
mean
had it bad.
Does that mean,
I
yes.
had you're right, right. It
Yeah.
and so all and or good, right?
Mhm.
Compared to
Mhm.
you, Mom, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
and when it comes to discipline, I have changed my ways. I've really tried to change my ways. Now I have a second chance with my son, with my little baby, second marriage. And I want to do things in a different way, but I find myself going back to the stuff I used to do, which
Mhm.
is the yelling, which is the I spank, but it's not to the point where all three of them got a spanking.
Absolutely.
Open hand on the booty. And with the older two, I had threatened them with paleta. Paleta is the wooden spoon. And sometimes they got it on their booty, but that wasn't the case always. It just happened when it really mattered, in my opinion.
Right.
But again, I'm not trying to do that to this child. I guess what I'm trying to lead towards is, how do we do both? How do we change all the things that we were programmed to do because of our upbringing if we are coming from a background that believed in la chancla, spanking, paleta, the belt, a whooping? How do we then, in real time, as we're still doing these old habits that our parents did with us, like the yelling, then come into this moment and change it? And I think that is a very possible thing to do. I think that as we're talking about, can there be discipline without damage? Part of it is also saying, I'm going to try something different right now, even though I screwed up before.
Yeah.
Even though I already yelled at them, said the bad thing, right? Sometimes we say things we don't mean.
So I will tell you that I feel bad every time that Drake has a meltdown and I have to put him in his room. And sometimes I have to physically pick him up, take him to his room, and close the door, right?
That's tough.
You have no idea how painful that is to actually have to do that. I bring a chair and I sit outside of his room, holding on to the door so he can't get out, because his room is safe. There's not things that he can, there's things that he can break and things that he can do. He can get everything out of his drawers, everything out of it. He can do lots of things in there, but it's not the kind of place that he can go and hurt Rio or hit me. So we literally, we have to let him be in his room for a while until he calms down. But the thought of me having to keep my son in the room until he calms down, it's hard for me, because I feel like I need to be right next to him, hugging him and telling him that it's okay. But he's not going to listen to that when he's going through this. So I need to let him calm down before. But the guilt that comes to me, the guilt that comes to mind when I am doing these crazy things. I just thought of something very funny. When we moved into the house that we live in, we didn't have any kids yet. So we moved in there, and the locks of the doors were on the outside. We were like, what? John and I were like, oh my gosh, the family that was here was locking their kids in their room because they had the locks on the outside of the door. We had to change it around. And then when the kids started getting older, I'm like, now I know why. Now I understand why these locks were on the outside of the bedroom, And so those are things that sometimes you just gotta do and you're like.
So real quick, Michelle, I'm going to address something you said and then I'm going to say something else. There are people, and I don't know if you're like this, like when you're upset or somebody has teed you off, and we're even got a relationship, like marriage, are you the person who, let's talk about it right now, or is it like, give me my space and then I'm going to come back to it?
If it's my husband, I walk away. If not, I'm going to talk about it right away.
Okay, so it's the same thing with Drake.
I know.
Yeah, and it's like, dang, I want to hug you. I want you to know that I'm good. But he's like, listen, I know all that, but I need my own space.
Yeah. No doubt.
And it's hard not to feel that mom guilt when you're in that space. So what I will say to you is, of course, like I say to you all the time, is give yourself grace, because you are doing a fabulous job. And that's fabulous and fantastic together, girl. Like, to be able to still have your head on a swivel with everything that you are going through, you are doing it with so much grace and so much class. It's like nobody would know that you have a complex kid if you didn't speak on him being a complex kid.
That's right.
You don't look like what you've been through, and it's because you have a certain anointing, a certain grace that's over your life for that. Everybody can't do that.
The pats on the back that Michelle gets. I like coming here. Can we
I
do this
also
every
want to
day?
say that you're so brave coming on here speaking
Yes.
on it, because not everyone is going to admit to the things that you're saying right now,
Absolutely.
because it comes with shame and guilt. This isn't easy, especially having children with complex behaviors or special needs. Let's talk about that part for a minute, because being on the spectrum is actually something that has become more common with recent times.
One out of 34 kids
And
in the
we need
United
to talk
States.
about it. We need to talk about how, as a mother, it breaks our heart. We still do it from love, though. The foundation is still love. And it's still going to hurt. It's still going to be a hard thing to do, but you are speaking on it on your platform through podcasts, teaching other women, other parents how to manage these things while you're doing the best that you can at home. And no, it's not perfect. Anyone who wants to judge, it's like my biblical teachings. Whoever is without sin, that's the first stone. Yeah. We are all going to mess up. It's important to acknowledge and have grace, like Taisha said. When you have grace for yourself, you're able to give grace to your kids.
I know.
Right?
I was a guest on a podcast, and she asked exactly that. How do you take care of yourself? That's a hard question. For me, I'll be honest, podcasting has been fun because it's my side gig. It gets me excited. I meet new people. I talk about things that matter. And hopefully people are listening to what it is that I'm talking about. And that is kind of what I'm doing for myself, right? And for others too. And I feel like sometimes when you are too down on yourself, that's when you come in and you help other people. And then you feel better. Right. But that was one of the things. And also just understanding. Like I had to go through 3 years of therapy to be able to say that, so what if this is what's happening, right?
What
Is
do
it
you
the
tell
end of the
yourself when
world?
you say that? Okay. Is it the end of the world?
So what if it's happening? You have to kind of give yourself, allow yourself to make mistakes and understand that you will. And that's kind of how things go in life, right?
Yep. Foundationally, I think that's where we start. For me, I have seen also that putting on my empathy hat as a mom and becoming a child with my child has helped me to really apologize. I'm a very big on ego. Let me tell you something. I'm someone who can't apologize to the closest people to me. I can apologize to everyone in the world except for the closest people to me. And that is a flaw I'm willing to admit I have. I had needed to change that so quick with my kids, because I think I heard someone else on a podcast say, I need to apologize. And I put myself in that position. I was like, is an apology going to change things? Coming from mom and dad, 100% it would have changed things. That would have made all of the difference. In fact, I don't speak to my father today because there was no apology for all the things that happened in my childhood. I don't care about the apology as much as I care that he understands where he was wrong. That's where I think it made a difference as a child. Then thinking that and going into my child, I'm like, okay, mom and dad are probably the greatest love of your child's life. You are at home, mom, dad, grandparent, or whoever is parenting this child. You are the most important person or people in your child's life. To hear an apology from you is everything to that child.
Yep. And that is how you asked the question, how do we in real time get it basically when we feel like we're messing up and trying to do this thing right, how in real time do we do it? And that is the key. The pivot to it is acknowledging, wait a minute, I'm wrong. Baby girl, baby boy, I'm sorry that what I said offended you or how I said it offended you. My intent was not for that. So,
Right.
and as parents, it's an ego trip because it's like, I'm superior. What I say
Correct.
goes. And it's just like, but there are also people too. They have feelings, they have emotions. So, in order for them to be regulated, we got to first admit that we're wrong because we don't know everything. Like, they
That's
can
right.
teach us some things. Like, our kids teach us without even knowing they are teaching us. And as
That's
parents,
right.
when we really just be like, you know what? And take a minute to look at ourselves because we don't do a lot of intro work. We place the blame on our parents, our husbands. We place the blame on social media. We place the blame on everything and everybody else. But we don't
That's
look
true.
within to see, okay, what could I have done differently? What could I have said differently? How could I have shown up for them in this space? Because the same way we have bad days at work, we go through our emotional things, they are going through it too. And it's worse because they are still developing, trying to figure out who they are, what I'm feeling, where do I fit in this family, where do I fit in this
Especially those
world?
teenage years.
Yes,
Oof.
where do I fit
Yeah.
in this world? Where do I fit in with my friends? Who am I? So trying to figure out all of that, their emotions are not regulated. And then we got mama and daddy coming in here power tripping because they're superior and I'm not
That's it.
allowed to feel. But when
Right.
you're having a bad day, you can say, hey, I'm having a bad day, so I didn't wash the dishes. I'm going to my room to take a break. But because I have to do everything in a certain order, I'm not allowed to have a bad day. That's unfair. But then it's like,
Right.
well, I'm the parent. Who's to say what's fair and not fair? One day, baby, you're going to get old. That same child that you feel that you disregarded because you were superior may have to be that same child that end up helping you to the bathroom, that having to take you to the doctor's appointments, that have to read your
Oh,
medications
so true.
because of your we are kids twice and adults once. So we have to be mindful how
Woo!
we treat our kids.
It's
And so
so
what? We
true.
got it wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to apologize.
This big 5-0 coming up next year is
Woo!
like, oh my God.
Where are we
50
going?
I
is
don't
the new
know,
20,
but
it's the new 25, Michelle.
only 50-year-olds say that.
Well, I mean, I ain't 50, but I think it's the new 25.
That's
Yes.
awesome. It's true.
My kids are going to be the ones taking care of us.
Yeah,
Like,
we
No.
don't think about these things. I think about like again, I'll go to my dad. What does he think right now? You know, I'm his first daughter. He has a bunch of kids, just a bunch of children from different mamas. And I think about it, like he has his other kids, but we were really close. And now I haven't spoken to him in years. And
I have a
yeah,
question for you. And you can let me know if this is a Taisha
sure,
not
that's
right
okay.
now. So my thing to you is, as an adult, and your dad's an adult, what's stopping you, or have you attempt to have a conversation with him about how you feel?
I have,
Okay.
unfortunately. That was where I started a lot of healing work, right? You got to try to do that in your life if you want to change who you are and how you were programmed. A lot of it was really reaching out and saying, Dad, these are the reasons why I'm not okay with the way that things are now today. Like today, our relationship is not, I can't talk to you and speak with you when you still think that you're justified for how you treated mom. You're justified for how you treated us. The open wound gap that Michelle was talking about, by my father. I'm like this high and he's this high. These things are not okay and I'm hurt by them, Dad. And it's something you need to admit you did wrong because I can't continue being on the phone with you.
Question is, why do you need for him to admit that he's wrong to something that you already know is wrong? And I'm sure he know is wrong too in hindsight 2020. And I understand how you feel about your mother, but that was your dad and your mother's relationship.
Right.
Yours, the mark that you have is from him. That's
Yeah.
between you two, not how
Yeah.
he treated your mom. That's not something for him to take accountability for to his child. That's something between him, your mom, and the good
Yeah.
Lord.
I mean, the what I am mostly concentrated on about my mom and him was the domestic violence in front of the children. It was all of us around.
Right.
So coming back to answer your question, right? His attitude towards that is that forever he'll talk a lot of bad stuff on my mom to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear that.
Mm.
From here on out, I don't want to hear any of that. Keep it to
Absolutely.
yourself. He hasn't respected that boundary. He doesn't know boundaries. He doesn't know respect on boundaries. I cannot continue to forgive my father in real time when he continues to traumatize me with the way that he continuously behaves. All of the forgiveness that I gave him prior to this date, if he were just to be like, I was wrong, this is not okay, the way I'm thinking is not okay, please forgive me, because he has said, please forgive me, and I have forgiven him. But he continues to do the same thing that hurt me before. Not just talking about my mom, just
Right.
in general, his thinking today is still the way that he thought
Right.
20,
Mhm.
30, 40 years ago.
Well,
And
it's hard, right? With parents. Like my mom used to talk shit on my dad all the time. But she had mental health issues.
Right.
She was hurt. Like my dad left her for another woman, so she was
Right.
hurt. And then my mom
It's a
got to a
lot.
point that she was so miserable that she would talk shit on everybody. She
Sure.
would put the brothers and sisters up against each other. She would say certain things to certain one of the kids, and that's how she did her stuff. My dad was different because he didn't talk about my mom. He wasn't super present either. But I look back and is it okay what my mom did for years? Probably not. So the day she died, she was like, she was, hated life, hated my dad, hated everybody. That anger inside of her really, it's just sad. I remember thinking when my mom was in the hospital, you know what? Go be happy because here you were not happy. Sometimes people get to that point and that's not good either. So I think that a lot of times it's hard for older people to accept that they did wrong and to move on from things, right?
That's
It's
it.
a hard thing to do.
It
And
really is.
I think, and it's harder on us to see that and we think they didn't care. But I really truly believe that someday my kids are going to complain about me. And the one thing that I can say to them is I did the best that I could with what I had.
Yep. So forgiveness. You spoke on you forgiven him once, and until he asks for forgiveness again, it's going to be hard for you to forgive him. I'm correct in saying that, right? Because I don't want to misquote what you said.
It's actually until he admits what he did is wrong.
So
Yeah.
what if he never admits it? That means you are stuck with unforgiveness in your heart for your father. Since you are Christ follower, I can say this to you. The word says for us to honor thy father and thy mother, so our days will be long. Honoring him is forgiving him. Honoring him is still loving him, but you can still keep your distance, saying that you won't forgive him until he admit that he's wrong. He may not be able to admit it because
I
in
forgive
that
him,
moment,
but I won't talk to him.
Okay. So my question is, if your dad called you today and say, hey, Jackie, whatever he calls you, I need, or I need to talk. Are you able to still show up and be there for your dad without him admitting that he was wrong?
I am. It's just a different dynamic now. I don't engage with him anymore. We haven't spoken in a long time. But I have forgiven my father. I couldn't actually not forgive him and still live the life that I live. It just wouldn't feel right.
Because the forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about it's
it
for
really
us.
isn't. Right.
Yeah. Even though it feels good for somebody to apologize for offending us.
That's it.
You know, a lot of times we do things to people and we don't know that we have offended them, and they're walking around and it's just like, I don't even know the issue that this person has with me. That's why when there's an issue with somebody, you are to go to that person and attempt to fix whatever it is. If it doesn't work, you take somebody else with you and be like, listen, I'm sorry for wronging you. My intentions were not that, but your feelings are valid and I do apologize. So apologies doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to go back the way they used to be. Hopefully they can either move forward or that's the end of said relationship, but it's not ended on bad will. It's just, I don't want this to be repeated again, so I'm going to part ways.
The last thing I said to him was, I hope you're not repeating that with my 3 sisters. Because he had 3 more girls after he left my mom with another person. He said he wasn't repeating those things. So I can only hope and pray.
Hopefully.
Well, my ladies, that is it. That's it. That is the end of our podcast.
The room service just came by. I had to go tell them that I'm good.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
I love you, ladies.
Love you too. All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.